My 30M mother, 60M, just crossed a red line of my wife's 30F and doesn't see the problem. Throw away for obvious reasons, but I am at a loss for what to do. Some background. My wife has a turbulent history with her mother and older sister. Until my wife moved out, their interactions were boiling down to a ton of emotional abuse, gaslighting, and heavy favoritism for her older sister. In fact, even in interactions with my wife's mother, the amount of favoritism disturbed me as a neutral observer. For example, we were going to visit her grandmother and we had brought a bunch of souvenirs, boutique foods, that we knew her grandmother liked. However, COVID measures at the time ended up preventing us from bringing any food into their nursing home. Without even giving us the option of bringing it home, her mother immediately regifted it to her sister because she might like it. The favoritism has been so stark that it's led to an almost PTSD response from my wife whenever something she owns ends up benefiting her sister. Her sister also never hesitates to rub all of the things she's gotten this way in our noses. My parents, both 60-ish, are visiting this week from abroad, and I warned them well in advance that this is a red line and they must not bring anything for her older sister or her kid because the reaction will be visceral and terrible. Mind you, my parents have never met her sister or her kids because she snubbed our wedding. My dad understood and promised me that the several children's books they had prepared would stay at home and they would not bring them. My wife has also been doing her best to take my parents all over the country to show them places they have never been to before. Lo and behold, on the day my wife's parents were scheduled to meet my parents, my mom shows up with the stack of books that she had packed behind my father's back and proceeded to gift them to my wife's parents to give to her sister. My mom insists this is because they're family and she hasn't done anything wrong. Predictably, the reaction has been utter pandemonium and I am left picking up the pieces. Wife wants no contact with my parents and my mom insists she did nothing wrong and my wife is reacting over a stack of children's books. I am firmly on my wife's side on this, as I had spent almost 3 weeks walking my parents through each incident to explain how this red line came to be. Dad cannot believe my mom would do such a thing behind his back and already apologized to my wife several times even though he had no part in what happened. Now the question is, where do I go from here? Do I try and make my mother understand? I think the relationship is toast, or how do I make my wife feel better because she feels so incredibly betrayed by my parents? For now, I think I need to get the books back before they get transferred to her sister. Edit. There have been a number of people asking me why my wife's family are still in the picture despite being toxic. The answer is that it's my fault. Her mother will push her way into our business and I have been hesitating to enforce proper boundaries for fear of rocking the boat. I've just learned that this behavior is called boat steadying, and I need to stop doing this. My wife does not keep in touch with her family willingly. She has said more than once that she would be happier if she never saw them again. Wait. You're the reason her toxic parents have the opportunity to treat her like this? She isn't in contact with them? And you are surprised that your mother is exactly like you? A lot to unpack here. First, your mom was in the wrong and owes your wife an apology, even if she didn't totally understand why this was a sore spot. And yes, even if you explain, people sometimes have a hard time internalizing dynamics they've never experienced. You made it clear this was an absolute no-no and she did it anyway. That's disrespectful. Secondarily, is your wife in any sort of treatment for her trauma? It seems like a very painful way to live that she can't see your parents bring books for a child without scorching the earth. While I do understand and empathize with her pain, she can't use it as a justification to control other people's actions that really have nothing to do with her. Your mom is not her mom. Do you have any inkling that your mom would have done this on purpose to upset your wife, or was it an honest miscalculation of how serious the issue was? That will influence how you should handle things moving forward. So according to your edit, you're also part of the problem. No one takes your wife seriously, not even you. I feel so sorry for this woman and feel terrified what will happen to her mental health by being surrounded by enablers and abusers. Wait, your wife has these issues and still spends time with her family? Start there, man. Definitely start there. There's no world where your wife ever gets better with them around. Therapy and going NC with her parents and sister seems really obvious. I think you need to support your wife here. Her reaction is extreme and she does need therapy. But I understand her. I personally believe ignoring boundaries that you've been made aware of in advance can only be malicious invalidation. Your mother made a conscious decision to invalidate your wife's experiences here. If your coworker tells you they are not okay with casual touching and you go and give them a big hug anyway because it's just a hug and it'll make you feel better, quote, you'll likely be seeing HR. Your mother is actively invalidating your wife's experiences. Her believing family above all is good for her, but she doesn't get to push that narrative on someone whose experience is wholly different. I don't think NC is the answer here. But I do not fault your wife for feeling betrayed by your mother, and I think the relationship is toast unless your mother shows actual remorse for her actions. Hey up, while your wife obviously needs some professional help to sort out her feelings and move forward, your mother also needs to see the consequences of her actions. Go no contact for a set period of time even if she apologizes. She has no right to dictate how your wife should react and needs to be shown that the hard way by removing her choice to continue your relationship with her. I agree with the comments about professional advice and treatment. Can you negotiate NC with your mom but retain contact with your father? Do you think that you could get that concession? Maybe not right now while she's incandescent, but maybe later? Your father seems to understand, and maybe you could advocate that it wasn't his doing and that he's on her side. He and your unthinking mother would have to agree that she'd be nowhere near the telephone during calls. She sounds like you could spend 3 days priming her to be silent and she'd still be, but all I want to say is, quote, do you have any siblings that you'd be able to pass information through as an alternative route? So I see this as your mom gave your and your family's childhood books to her sister. They did not save those books for your future children. You made it clear that the relationship is bad, and no gifts to her sister's kids will ever make their way back to your family. These are not random meaningless books. I think people are missing the point. Or don't love reading to their kids to not see the nostalgia and connection there. Or were these random books your mom picked up on sale? I have a similar issue to your wife. Your mom needs to apologize sincerely, and I would make it a point to adhere to the NC until she does. Your wife though needs to realize and remember that your dad is a separate person. He can still have the relationship with you and leave your mom out of it entirely. Set up some boundaries, like he can't pass messages and the like, and do that. If your wife refuses to compromise on that part of the NC, wish you have a bigger problem. She definitely needs some counseling. However you can get it. Buddy, if your wife has said she'd be happy never seeing them, all you had to do was not invite them to meet your family. Then none of this would happen. Listen to your wife. Get her help. Cut them off. Your rose-colored glasses are skewing your perception. Your wife's mother is a total out in the open, and your own mother is a sly masked with an "I just want everyone to be happy" sweet persona. Mothers and mills get really weird about this kind of stuff. Your mom made a power move. It was at the detriment to your wife. And your mom knew it. And did it anyway. Both older women in your life suck. And you need to see it and start really protecting your wife. Go completely NC with wife's parents. She isn't lying when she says she doesn't want to see them again. Let her reach out to them if she wants. But you stop talking to them altogether. Also go NC with your mom for a while to teach her that her behavior is completely unacceptable. And she will only get no contact from you if she acts like that again. I think your wife could benefit from cutting her own family off if their presence brings her so much grief. I also think she needs to work through her emotions because at the end of the day, the books were for the children, not her sister. Your mom should still apologize because she was warned that this was a sore spot for your wife. I really think that your mother should worry more about mending the relationship with your wife. Instead of worrying who is technically right, give your wife a big hug and talk to her to see if you can cut off her family. Then talk to her about therapy. This seems to deeply hurt her. Maybe talking to someone about it would benefit her. Info. Why is it okay for your wife to maintain contact with her mom? The person who contributes to her trauma, but expects you to cut contact with yours? Your mom has made an insensitive misstep by gifting books, but is it a cultural norm to bring family gifts? I only ask because in my culture visitors often bring multiple gifts for extended in-law family, even those they have never met. It doesn't make sense to keep her toxic family around but go no contact with yours when your mom's mistake was pretty minor. OP's mom was selfish and boundary stomping. OP's wife needs help, but this boundary was explained in great detail to OP's mom and mom didn't care. Go and see until mom apologizes. Whether the wife is helped in therapy or not, OP's mom was wrong and must apologize before going forward. NC. This was a power play of your mother's. The only way that people making these types of power plays change their behavior is if they experience massive consequences that lose them all power and influence. Talk to your dad in private. You will need him on board for it to be effective. You will need to work out a way to be completely no contact with your mom while retaining contact with your dad. She will only reconsider her actions if she sees your dad continue in his visits and contact while she is excluded. She cannot offer advice or even discussion. She has lost all influence and power, which is what she craves. Only once she admits genuinely that she was wrong and is able to honestly admit her motivations can you welcome her back. I give it about 18 months. Just to reinforce this won't work if your dad isn't on board. Your mother did this deliberately because she was told not to. I didn't get one thing. Why does your wife maintain contact with her parents if she is that terrible? The fact that your mom hid what she was doing, especially from your dad, shows she knew she was doing something bad. And she knew why it was bad. You invested a lot of time explaining this to both your parents. Your mother knew better. The fact she is now doubling down and refusing to accept responsibility for her actions shows you with 100% certainty she will do something like this again. I'm sorry to say that until there comes a day when your mother sincerely and genuinely recognizes her mistake to herself, even before others, she cannot be trusted ever again. Not until she truly accepts responsibility. And this does not mean her parroting "I'm sorry" simply to appease everyone she upset, so she can gain favor with everyone again. Op is just like his mother. She purposely hid the gift after being told about the trauma. Op said his wife wants no contact with her family, and he purposely keeps letting them in. This was his wording. His poor wife is alone in this.
If you enjoyed this video, Please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.